Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ADRC Consumer Experience Survey Beta Test Training. My name is Alexandria Griffith, and I am an analyst for the California Department of Aging in the Aging and Disability Resource Connection Bureau. I am American of Filipino descent, and today I am wearing a floral shirt. Thank you all for taking time to be here. Just a few notes before we get started. If you are dialing in, please dial *9 to request to be unmuted, and then *6 to unmute yourself to speak. You would then dial *6 to mute yourself again. The chat is enabled for you all today to post questions or comments. We will also read the chats during comment periods. You can also use the raise hand function. We have the closed captioning for this meeting. To enable this function, select live transcript or closed captioning in your Zoom toolbar. We are recording this Zoom meeting today. If you are having technical issues with Zoom, please email adrc@aging.ca.gov. So just an overview for the first part of our training. We will discuss why the survey is being done and share the development process, which included ADRC feedback and input along the way. We will also share information about the beta test and the survey. Then we'll have some time for questions and comments before going to the next part of the training. Now I'd like to introduce Wilson Tam, ADRC Bureau Chief.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Wilson Tam with the ADRC team here at the Department of Aging. I am an American of Chinese descent, male, wearing a gray checkered shirt today. And I am going to talk about kind of the why. It's our team philosophy to really address, the why are we doing things? And so I think it's important for all of us to understand that it's a challenge for Californians to know what services are available and how to access those services in order to maintain our independence. And so I think anecdotally, I think our ADRCs understand the value that we provide. However, how can we put this into more of a data that's demonstrable to legislature, to the governor's office, and to other stakeholders that are kind of watching the value of ADRC. So, we really, just to emphasize, we really need to demonstrate and make it better known about the value of our ADRCs in supporting individuals to navigate and also access the valuable services each of our organizations provide. In addition, I think data helps us identify those community needs, any service gaps that we need to address, and also which populations we serve and those that we should reach out to that we may not be serving as much at the moment. And second, in addition to demonstrating value of ADRCs, it's also important for us to use data to measure the impact on consumer outcomes. As you are familiar, in the past few years, and even way before that, most of our programs, whether it's ADRC, Older Americans Act, or independent living programs, we've primarily collected data on just outputs, which is like service units, demographics. However, with the understanding that there has been a lot of research on social determinants as contributing factors to the overall health of people, and also understanding the growing importance of value-based funding, meaning that more and more funders are looking for recipients of these funds to demonstrate outcomes. It's important that we start collecting data to start measuring not only the outputs, but also measuring the consumer outcomes to really better position ourselves for future funding opportunities, especially with healthcare entities and healthcare programs. And so what we have here today is kind of a culmination of our phase 1 work in demonstrating outcomes. And so our phase 1 is really what we have today, our consumer experience survey, it's not, it's, we see it as kind of a stepping stone to get us closer and closer to measuring consumer outcomes. And so, we see, again, this consumer experience survey as really the phase one. And in subsequent phases, we'll likely get us closer to measuring social determinants of health. And third but not least, data drives action. So what I mean by that is really data enables the state and also our local partners to determine how to best focus our time and the limited resources that we have. And so including resources that support our continued or increased funding needs. So hopefully that kind of provides the why of why we're doing this. And now that I talked about the why, I wanted to recognize our ADRC advisory committee, especially the data and outcomes work group that has been instrumental in helping us develop this consumer experience survey. So with that, I guess I'll turn it back to Alex or Amanda for our next slides.
Thank you, Wilson. This is Amanda Price, and I'm part of the ADRC team as well. Just a quick description of me. I am Anglo middle-aged with long blonde gray hair, and today I'm wearing a blue sweater, glasses, and a scarf. So just a little more information now that you've got a grounding of the why, as Wilson mentioned, a little bit more about the development of the ADRC Consumer Experience Survey, like what's gotten to us to this point today. It's been about 18 months in development. The project began with the ADRC Advisory Committee's Data and Outcomes Work Group, as Wilson mentioned, and a big thanks to them for their work with us on the survey development. And then last fall, a draft was submitted to local ADRC partners for comments and feedback, and we received nearly 50 comments and incorporated many of them to create a new draft of the survey. The alpha pilot test was done last spring with 3 ADRCs participating, Nevada, Riverside, and Ventura. And then after the test was completed and with feedback from participating ADRCs, the survey was again fine-tuned and reviewed with CDA leadership and the Data and Outcomes Work Group again. This has now gotten us to where we are today, which is really an exciting moment. We'll be beta testing the survey with designated ADRCs this fall. And then just a note that emerging ADRCs may participate if they wish. We can go to the next slide. So for this part of the training, let's talk about the beta test. The beta test is a smaller scale test of the survey and will help determine how the survey will work for ADRCs in the future. So for the beta test, ADRCs are asked to do a random sample of their consumers to generate a small number of respondent data, 50 respondents for smaller sized ADRCs, 75 for medium sized, or 100 respondents for larger sized ADRCs. And then ADRC partners can really select what size ADRC they feel they're at right now. The goal is not to over-survey consumers. In the feedback we've gotten from some ADRCs is that they already also do their own consumer surveys, and those should continue. So what do we mean by random sampling? As you can guess, your ADRC partners will not select individuals to survey. The random sampling can be done in many different ways. Database generated, if you have that technology, or even randomly selecting numbers on a spreadsheet to survey. And there's many other ways, and please do what works best for you in that process for your ADRC. And then in terms of how the survey can be delivered, ADRCs can administer the survey in any way they wish. Partners may already have a survey delivery method that works well, or they can choose one that will be best for them. So at this point, we thought it would be helpful to hear from maybe 1 or 2 of the ADRCs who are part of the alpha pilot. And I'm pretty sure I see Jaden Gaines here from the Ventura ADRC. Jaden, would you mind sharing a little bit about your experience during the alpha pilot with everyone today?
Sure thing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Amanda. I am Jaden Gaines. I'm the Program Services Manager at the Independent Living Resource Center, which is a core partner of the Ventura County ADRC. So a little bit about our experience with the survey. We created a Microsoft form to administer the survey electronically. And from a list of approximately 450 clients or consumers who received services between February 1st and April 15th of this year, we sent the survey to 55 of those consumers with email addresses on file. We randomly selected those folks. We received 20 responses, which is about a 36% response rate. We did not break out consumers by service function for this particular test. Beyond the pilot, we would recommend asking consumers these questions via multiple methods. So we did it all by email, but doing it by phone, text, or even in person can contribute to a broader pool of responses. Our area agency on aging currently conducts consumer satisfaction surveys via phone, which follows our county strategic plan. So that's an additional method that could run a risk of slightly over surveying. And if we compare the results of this pilot ADRC consumer experience survey with the AAA automated post-call survey during the same time, the results are pretty similar. So that's kind of our experience with administering the survey here in Ventura County for our consumers at the ILC. Thank you.
Jaden, thank you. I think that's really important information for ADRCs to hear, even as they're planning going forward with the beta tests. So thank you. And then I know that Ha Young Park from Riverside was going to maybe give her thoughts as well. So I don't see that she's arrived yet, but we will kind of pause our training if she's able to make it, and you can hear from her as well. So for the next slide, we'll go through now a little bit more of what the survey is. The ADRC Consumer Experience Survey is a 9-question survey with 1 question optional. It's written in plain language and the questions are very person-centered. ADRC feedback from the very first draft was that these 2 parts of the survey or components of the survey are really important. The survey has been translated into 15 threshold languages along with English. And there are instructions as part of the survey as well. And they are suggested draft instructions. So ADRCs, please modify instructions and descriptions to the person you're talking to, if it's in person or on the phone. So just kind of when you receive the draft version of the survey, take a look at that. And then in terms of the format, the survey will be delivered to ADRCs in Word documents for ADRCs to modify. We got a lot of feedback that was important. And then there have been requests for a PDF version of the form as well. So you will receive a PDF version in English and Spanish. And then if you would like that PDF version in other languages, please let us know. We can get that done for you. So look for an email from us later this week or next week with the full packet of all those materials. And then later today, we will send a Word version of the survey in English just for your planning purposes. So keep an eye out for that. So just a note about the survey delivery. So ADRC should follow their own protocols that they've developed and best practices for survey delivery. Some suggested best practices are to tell the individuals being surveyed what the survey is for and that it's confidential and anonymous. And then if you wish, please explain to the individuals that why that Wilson talked about earlier and how the information will really help is we developed the No Locked Door system in California. And then if the individual wishes to be contacted for follow-up, the local ADRC partners can do that. All of you can do that. And if they wish to share their information, it is remaining confidential. The ADRC Bureau will not be collecting any kind of information like a follow-up number or anything like that. So the survey timing, let's just talk about that briefly. The beta test of this survey has a 2-month window. ADRCs can choose to administer the survey anytime during this period between October 1st and November 30th. And then after the survey is administered, the results should be reported back to the ADRC Bureau by December 31st, and then more on that data reporting in just a bit. So we have some more information to share, but I just thought we'd take a break for any questions you might have. And then Alex, I wasn't sure if there are any comments yet that have been posted.
I don't see any comments in the chat.
So anyone raise your hand, unmute, and then if there's no other questions, we'll move forward. Travis, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Just clarifying, the October 1st through November 30th, that's when we should be administering the surveys, not the service period that the people completing the surveys would have been assisted, right?
That's right, yes. So
Okay.
administering during that time, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Alex, I think you have the next part.
Thank you, Amanda. Let's move forward and share the survey questions and talk about the next steps. The survey questions themselves, as we mentioned, are in plain language and are person-centered. The first 5 questions asks for the respondent to agree or disagree with some statements about their experience. The next 3 questions ask for a more narrative response. The final question asks about whether the respondent would like to discuss their thoughts with the ADRC further. For this last question, the ADRC feedback showed that this is an important question to end with. If an individual indicates they would like to be contacted, we expect that the ADRC partner will follow up. In terms of reporting this information, the ADRC Bureau at CDA will only need to know whether the respondent indicated yes or no. We are not collecting the phone number.
Thanks, Alex. So in terms of reporting and next steps, so after the data is collected, first identify those respondents who indicated they'd like to have a follow-up call, and please contact them. And then next, you'll receive a data collection spreadsheet as part of the packet of survey materials. And we'll go into the spreadsheet in a moment, but you would fill out that data and then return the information by December 31st. So survey concludes November 30th, and then you have about a month to compile that data. And then a report in early 2023 we at the ADRC Bureau will share a report with data highlights, next steps, and trends. So you'll get to kind of get a preview of what that looks like. So let's move to the next slide. And we'll just briefly stop here again for any comments or questions on survey delivery or the data piece. And we have one more section to talk about, which is the kind of training on the spreadsheet. And then we'll be concluding. Yes, Travis, I see your hand.
Sorry to have all the questions, and sorry if I missed this, but excuse me. So for the numbers of surveys to be collected, we will be informed as to what category we fall into as far as the small, medium, or large ADRC?
No, actually, that'll be up to you to determine that. So your partners can discuss and determine what you'd like to return to us with. Okay,
and then with those numbers, is that the expectation of the number of surveys to be sent out, or the number of survey responses to be received?
That's right, yeah. So number of respondents, so 50 respondents, 75 respondents, or 100 respondents. So you might, kind of look at what you might need to sample in terms of getting those numbers back. So, and again, as Jaden shared, I think for the Alpha, Ventura did about 500. And so anyway, you can kind of look at your own database for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Bridget, I see your hand is up.
Hey, good morning, or good afternoon. Yeah, I didn't know if this was the right time to throw in this suggestion, but I just wanted to throw in the suggestion of with each question to have a neutral answer or a non-applicable question, because you want people who might not have applied in that scenario. And if they don't have the option to either say not applied, then it's going to be a skewed answer where they might just put, strongly disagree or strongly agree. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. So for each question, it should have a neutral one.
Thank you. That's a really great feedback. And again, I think with instructions that you'll get too, you can modify those to include that. And then that's great for the future versions. In the final output, we can see what we can do with adding that. But again, because you have Word docs for the surveys, you can modify them as well as you wish.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Appreciate the feedback. That's a great note. Anyone else have anything before we move forward? Hey, Rhoda, how are you? I see your hand.
Hi, everyone. I'm well. I hope everyone is well for this Thursday. I had a quick question. So regarding, I noticed, was it Jaden that mentioned from Ventura did mostly by electronic surveys. So was that only emailed or was that by phone call and email? I was curious about that, and I didn't hear anything about snail mail. Is that correct? That was just wondering about this.
Yeah, thanks, Rhoda. We did only use via email, which is one of our recommendations in the future, to use multiple methods over the phone, text, and including email. But here on the ILC side, we did only use email addresses.
Okay.
I mean, we sent them straight to those addresses.
Okay. So preferably, obviously, that pool of the respondents we want to receive, all of them must have at that point an email address or access to that digital tool for themselves. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, great. And so did you by any chance call any of them and put in anything into that Microsoft?
Nope, we only used email for this time around.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great. How many, you said you sent out to 55 and you got 20 respondents?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And how, may I ask, as far as text, is that like the SMS style that you're mentioning?
Yes, sorry. Yes, SMS messaging.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great questions, Rhoda and Jaden. Thanks for the input on your experience. I know Riverside did text SMS as well, and they may have done some phone. And Rhoda, you mentioned snail mail. That I'm sure that's also fine. It's great to test all these different methods for your ADRC. And then as long as responses are in by November 30th, that's great too. So,
okay, great.
Any other questions or comments before we talk about the data collection spreadsheets? Don't see anything. Okay, so we can move forward now. The last piece that we'll talk about in our training is the spreadsheet that you'll receive to report your responses. So after November 30th, when everything concludes, you'll start to report the information through the spreadsheet. And just a note, when you receive the spreadsheet, if you'd rather have that data collection in a different format for accessibility, please let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate that. So you see here is a view of one of the tabs of the spreadsheet. It's the aggregated data view. The data collection spreadsheet has 3 main sections. The first section is a tab with instructions, and then the next are several tabs to collect the response data. And then the third section asks for ADRC partners to give input about the survey itself. And then for the data collection, there's 2 options to report questions 1 through 6. For those who can aggregate their data easily, ADRCs can report just the aggregate data, and that's what you see here. And then for those who wish to enter the respondent data, you can do so on an optional Excel spreadsheet tab that tabulates and aggregates the data for you. So if you wanted to move maybe to the next slide, Alex, if you don't mind advancing it, you'll see what that looks like. So it's just the raw data input, respondent number 1, answers to the questions all the way down. And again, this spreadsheet can aggregate the data for you automatically if you'd like that. And then there's a couple of narrative questions, and we do need the full respondent information for those narrative questions. So those are separate tabs as well in the spreadsheet. And the last view that I'll show you today is the last tab, which is a really important one, especially during our beta test. And that's for all of you in ADRCs to give your feedback about how the survey went overall, indicating how you delivered the surveys, and then sharing notes about how the survey delivery went for you. We'd love to hear success highlights and opportunities for improvement. So as we move the survey into full production in 2023, we have those notes and that feedback from you. And I think that wraps up that piece of it. Are there additional questions, comments, thoughts that anyone would like to share or ask today before we wrap up? I see your hand up.
Yes, it's me again. Quick question about the clients or the ADRC participants for the survey. Are they mainly those that have already gone through all their services for ADRC, or maybe and then like their case is closed, or can it be a mix of cases closed and those that are currently still receiving ADRC services?
Yes, we have not put any restrictions on that yet. So yeah, I mean, really not planned to. So just pull what you feel is best for your ADRC in terms of getting feedback.
Great. Keeping it open. I love it. Thank you.
Keeping it open. Yeah. And then even if you notice there are trends too, we'd love to hear it. Like if you got a certain pool of sample that they'd closed cases and another sample that had them open, if there was a difference. I think all of that is really helpful during this beta to hear. And then again, that informs kind of how we might survey going forward. So
Great to know. Thank you.
thank you. Hey, Travis, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question related to the random selection element. Our practice for, at least within our Aging and Adult Services Information Referral and Assistance Unit, is to administer customer satisfaction surveys like when we're doing follow-ups with clients, typically. And is there, would we be able to just institute this as our practice for doing those follow-ups and just apply it, to any client that we are contacting? It's just sort of a standard to do that, or is the request that we take the pool of total clients and only pull, randomly selected ones from that?
That's a great question. So again, because this is beta, we're not giving instructions either way, but some ADRCs, even in reviewing the survey questions, felt that it could just be the survey they use going forward. It is less about I know there's satisfaction and there's experience, and so the questions may not all apply to what you might want to do as an ADRC. So the beta test again is a really good moment to kind of look at all of that going forward and seeing if it could work as that survey for you. So yeah, and we did hear from ADRCs that they don't want to over survey, so we're very conscious of that too. It's really it's an important one. So
this is David Morikawa with ADRC. Maybe to help with that question, Travis, is I understand that your protocols in Monterey are to do the follow-up with all of your consumers upon completion. So that would be fine because you're not handpicking those who will receive the survey. It's part of your standardized protocol.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification, David. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up today?
The only other thing, maybe since we have a small group here, if you go back a couple of slides so they can maybe just see what those questions are.
Quickly pull up the word.
And then you can, yeah, I know they will be receiving these soon, but
Yes,
just in case there's any questions
right.
on these.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so I see my internet connection is unstable, but hopefully.
Good.
Alex, if you want to stop sharing your screen and then I can try to share the questions. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, we see you.
Okay, good. Hold on, Word is still opening up. So.
Okay.
All right, hang on 1 second. Here we go. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're using that one. Okay.
Yeah. So just really quickly, we've got the sample introduction statement and instructions here. They would respond if they're a recipient of services or a caregiver of a recipient of services. And then here's the rating area here. There's 5 questions. My interests and needs were discussed. I was treated with courtesy and dignity. I have more information and choices because of the services and assistance I received. I am more confident that I will be able to manage my life better because of the services I received and the services assistance I received. Improve my health, safety, and or well-being. So they would agree or disagree to those questions on the scale. The optional question here is number 6, which is based on your experience, what did you find helpful? And they can select here from several choices. And then the last 2 are narrative. What services were you seeking and what could we have done better? And then the final one, again, we've mentioned is may we contact you regarding your experience. Okay, I will stop sharing. And again, you'll receive a Word version of this right after today's training, so you can start planning. And then the full packet of materials will be sent over to you early next week. Anyone have anything else here? Hi, Rhoda.
Again, this is really quick. So the Word docs will also include all the different threshold languages you mentioned as well that you guys will be emailing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're in the Word document versions. That's right.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sure.
If you noticed in the survey sample that Amanda showed you, there are some blank spaces for you to identify your agency, and it's up to you how you wish to identify your agency. If you want to say it's the ADRC or your particular ILC or AAA, we want to make sure that the consumer, when they receive it, has an idea who they're receiving it from, and we want you to be able to determine how best to identify yourselves. And so there are some blank areas for you to fill in the introductory area of the survey.
I don't see the chat. Are there any other chats that have come through? No? Okay, good. Great. Thank you all today for participating in our training, and thank you, Jaden, for sharing your experience as part of the alpha. As we move into the beta test, again, there's a lot that we would like to hear from you as you administer the survey. And if there's questions that come up for you along the way, please reach out to us, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And thank you again. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.